What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show DFS for Dough here on Rotogrinders. I am Justin Van Zuiden, aka STL Cardinals 84, as usual, bringing you some golf content alongside Mr. Notorious Derek Farnsworth back at home this week. We are moving on to the Honda Classic, another event kind of leading up towards the heart of the spring season on the PGA Tour. Not the strongest field this week, though, but coming off of an event at Riviera that was surprisingly yet another birdie fest, and Joaquin Niemann with the wire-to-wire win. So kudos to him for an absolutely dominant performance last week. So Noto, how you doing? I know you were out in Vegas for the conference last week. So how you been?
I made it back home in one piece, so that's always good when you go out to Vegas. A lot of fun, got to see a lot of familiar faces, meet some new ones. A lot of fun. And wearing my Riv hat again this week because it was the first time in, I think, years that I got 6 of 6 in my main lineup. So I'm hoping to carry
superstitious thing.
Carry some momentum into this week because, it had been a while. I didn't win anything crazy, but to easily cash in your main lineup, that always feels good. Had a couple of shots in the big $20 heading into Sunday, but, didn't have any more Morikawa in those two. So that kind of hurt me. But, fun tournament. How was your week?
Yeah, I mentioned last week that it was going to be a hard week to narrow down your player pool. The last player cut from my player pool was Niemann last week, which sucked because I play him a lot and just figured, I need to cut one more. He usually doesn't win, and then he goes out and dominates. So I had like 15% 6 of 6 and 40% 5 of 6. So I would have had some shots as well if I would have had some Niemann. But I did not. So it ended up not being that spectacular, but still overall made a profit with all the 6 of 6 lineups. Just didn't have enough Niemann in there. So solid week, pretty good core of golfers, but was really upset with myself for taking Niemann out and leaving probably some other scrub that missed the cut in the player pool instead. But can't win them all, right?
Did you have any Cam Young? I should have
played
him.
I did not, and we talked about him on the show too. So. That was just me not putting him in after we talked about him. So that was a good call. I mean, that was you that kind of spearheaded that too. So
yeah, I didn't play him either. So hopefully somebody did.
We don't listen to ourselves. Hopefully others did though. It was a good week. Had Morikawa as a top 5 bet and with several 4-ball matchups that he won. And had Adam Scott top 10 as well. We started a new article series on Scores and Odds, so I'm writing some picks up in article form and hit a couple of plus 360s in there last week. So
perfect.
That worked out pretty well. Pretty solid start to that. So we'll see if we can keep that going this week. But it was hard to take a ton of takeaways from last week because Niemann just dominated so much. But surprising to see Riviera play as easy as it did. That was one of the things that kind of surprised me.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with how firm it was. It seemed like the balls were running the fairways. Some were, bouncing over the greens, but these guys are just getting so good. I don't really know if there's no wind and, no elements. It just seems like they're going to tear apart any course, maybe except for this one this week.
Yeah, this has played as the toughest par 70 on tour, I believe, the last 4 years. Of course, we keep saying that we're not going to see these birdie fests, and then we do. But I would be really surprised if we saw another kind of 15 under, 18 under, 20 under type of score this week. I think only 5 guys the last 15 years have made it to double digits under par at this tournament. It's expected to be pretty windy the first couple of days, and this is just a tough course. So this is the week we're not going to see a huge birdie fest, but Anything else as far as players and results from last week that caught your eye?
Not really. I mean, Morikawa was just lights out on the green. I think he gained over 7 strokes putting, and usually when that happens, he ends up winning. So he's somebody to keep an eye on. Obviously, moving forward. Nothing else notable. I mean, Ches Reavie had I think he gained 7 or 8 strokes around the green. I think he chipped in 4 or 5 times, which you don't see very often. So he ended up coming in the top 10 despite losing strokes off the tee and on approach. Something you can do at the Honda, but not usually at Riviera. I don't know. Anything else? Maybe the Saudi League kind of seems like it's canceled. Any thoughts there?
It disappeared as quickly as it came about, and all the Greg Norman jokes were going about on social media. Norman can't close on a Sunday, and that's when the news started to come down. Phil's quotes were polarizing, I guess is the best word for that. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like that's kind of much ado about nothing. And if they do end up with something, it's going to be like a 20 or 30 golfer. And somebody posted this on Twitter. I don't remember who, but basically it'd be like, who wants to watch the Hero World Challenge every week? And you just can't. The cut sweat is part of what makes the DFS part so great. And I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's going to grab the massive fan appeal, and feels like it would just be a USFL type flop, in my opinion, even if they went ahead with it.
Yeah, same. DJ kind of felt like the first domino. He gave that little speech or whatever out there, that statement, and after that, it seemed like one by one, all the guys that were in the mix of going, kind of got on board and back to PGA Tour. But yeah, I don't know what Phil's game is. I mean, he was saying he wants leverage on the PGA Tour, but then bad mouthing the Saudi League at the same time. It just seemed like he kind of shot himself in the foot there.
Yeah, and it's not like he's going to be playing on the PGA Tour much longer. So I don't know. This is your defending PGA champion as well. It's very strange.
So weird.
But yeah, it doesn't seem like that's got too much for sea legs at the moment. So, all right, let's go ahead and transition and start talking about this week. Boy, this field stinks. I know last year it was bad, but they held it the week after the Players, so it kind of made sense. But now, like, nobody just wants to come back. I don't know. After we saw such a strong field last week, now you're moving all the way across the country to Florida, and guys just decided it's a good week maybe to skip out. But it's bad. This field is really bad. There you go. We can end the show now.
See, I was thinking it was better than I was expecting. So I guess
man.
Expectations are everything. When you set them low and they barely meet the bar, then you feel pretty good.
I guess that's a low bar, though. That's a low bar that you were seeking. I don't know. I guess, and maybe it's because I don't like a whole lot of guys at the top. So we'll dig into that. But we mentioned tough course this week. Is played as the toughest par 70 the last 4 years, excluding the majors, obviously. But what do we got staring at us for the first Florida event here?
Yeah, so PGA National par 70, just over 7,100 yards. And as you mentioned, it's going to be tough. Each of the last 4 years, you mentioned it being the toughest par 70, also 6 of the last 9 years. And water's in play on 15 of the 18 holes. You're going to hear the bear trap talked up a lot this week, holes 15, 16, 17. I think Ryan Palmer is like 200 over par or something crazy like that in his career at the bear trap. So, we talk about him going in the water a lot on this show. And yeah, this is one of the reasons why, because, he's consistently bad when there's water around. But yeah, if you can get your guys, through those holes, even 1 over par, you're probably looking pretty good. As far as off the tee goes, the fairways are pretty narrow here, 29 yards on average. Compared to that to last week, it was 33 yards wide on average, and there's going to be a lot of forced layups, so it's not really a driver heavy course. But at the same time, even with guys not hitting a lot of drivers, the fairways are still pretty tough to hit. The greens are tough to hit as well. Scrambling's pretty tough. The greens themselves, Bermuda grass, pretty average in size. And then my final note of the week is just going to be the wind. The course is very exposed. It's right there on the water, not a ton of trees on the course. And you're going to see some significant, wind advantages one way or another if there ends up being a windy afternoon or a windy morning. So that's something I'm definitely going to be monitoring this week.
Yeah, hopefully we end up getting an edge. if you look, I'm going to pull it up, pull up the weather forecast right now and see what, obviously we taped this on Tuesday evening. So we're still about 36 hours away from the first tee time. So it's pretty hard to get the granular forecast, hourly details just yet. But if we just look at the daily forecast as of right now, Thursday is calling for 13-mile-an-hour winds with gusts over 20, and Friday is calling for about 12-mile-an-hour winds with gusts a little over 15. So pretty breezy, and that, like you say, the course is pretty exposed. So you will see some, if you see some gustier spots, a couple gustier hours, you are going to see the scores go higher, commensurate with that. So agree with keeping an eye on it. And basically, guys that are can stay out of the trouble and hit the fairways and greens and good on approach as usual. These are the types of courses where they're going to do well. So I mentioned I don't like a lot of guys at the top. We've got 5 above 10K. We've got him. We've got Oosthuizen. We've got Niemann. We've got Berger, and we've got Brooks. Berger loves playing in Florida, and this is a great fit for him, but he's not healthy. You can just tell that he is not right at the moment. Koepka, it's not a major, and he's always a little bit too expensive. Niemann, after shooting a zillion under par last week, nobody's going to want to play him. And I sure as heck don't want to trust Louis as the second most expensive player on the board. So that leaves him, who is a winner here 2 years ago and then 8th last year, and seems to really, he's one of those guys that tends to play better on the harder courses. So I like him. He's also going to be the most popular, and he's 11K. So I can't sell myself completely on Louis or Niemann or Berger or Koepka above 10,000. So what the heck do I do?
Yeah, it does sound like you're going to be starting a lot of lineups in the 9Ks, but I like 3 guys up here. So
see, that's why you think the field's not as bad as you expected, and I think it's terrible.
Yeah, that, and I'm a Jaguars fan, so the bar for me is always really low. Just keep those expectations down. But yeah, so Sung Jae, like you mentioned, he likes hard courses. He likes Florida. He's won here, and I think he won. Did he win another Florida course, or did he back this one up with the second? I can't remember. But yeah, great course history, pretty good form. He kind of doesn't have a weakness in his game, which always helps on these courses. So he deserves to be number 1. I do like Louis. You talk about a guy that's, avoids mistakes until he gets into contention on the back 9. He, over the last 12 months, he's 4th in bogey avoidance in this field. He's one of the better guys around the green. He's also a very good putter. And he's got an excellent track record in Florida. He's got the 4th best or 4th most strokes gained on all the Florida courses over the last 5 years. So I do think he's in play. I might actually tag him up as a core play this week, just because I think you're going to get significant ownership discount over Sung Jae. But I'm with you on Niemann, coming off the win. It kind of felt like if there were 5 more holes, he wasn't going to hang on last week. And who knows, after coming off the win, who knows if he's out partying. That's what I would be doing after winning an event like that, the biggest of his career. And then Brooks just feels too expensive for me. I know he's contended here before, but he's also missed the cut here a number of times. So he's out for me. And then Berger, I'm going to read, the transcripts this week. If he sounds like he's healthy, I don't mind going to him. FSU guy, pretty solid across the board. If he was, before the back injury, he'd probably be the most expensive guy in the field. Sure. if he was right. So no issue with Berger, assuming, we get some decent quotes out of him.
Yeah, I was looking before the show to see, hey, you can play him and you can do a hedge by betting him to miss the cut, but I did not see those odds on DraftKings or FanDuel on Berger to miss the cut as of the time we came on. So maybe they're just withholding those until we get a more concrete update. But I probably will play some Louis this week, even though I don't play him a whole lot. My anti-Louis, he's going to withdraw bias, tends to kick in, but given that I'm definitely not playing Brooks and we'll wait and see on Berger, I'll probably end up with some Louis this week, but I don't love it. I think Sung Jae is clearly the play up there, and we'll probably be starting a lot of lineups in the 9K range, which unfortunately is not the most amazing either. Like, I'm as big of a Keith Mitchell fan as anyone and have been in the past, but if you would have told me that Keith Mitchell was going to be $9,100 and 20% owned, at some point, this early in 2022, I would have told you were crazy. So that just goes to show you the strength of this field. It's just a little hit or miss when you start to go down the ranges a little bit, and we'll have to stall for time to fill the 45 to 50 minutes that we usually get to, because it's going to get pretty ugly when we get down to the value range. But what do we do with Fleetwood at 9,900? Let's give him his own segment. Potential Saudi tour candidate, Tommy Fleetwood.
So he's been playing pretty well overseas, coming off of a T12 and a T8 his last 2 times out. He's played here twice, T4, T3. He had a chance to win it in 2020. He came up to the last hole. I think he needed a birdie to force the playoff and hit it in the water. And that's just going to happen when you're, going for that tucked pin on that par 5. So I like him. The last 3 years, he's been so bad anytime he comes over and plays over here, and then he goes to the European Tour and just crushes. So that worries me a little bit, but he seems to like Florida golf more than any of the other regular stops on the PGA Tour. So I get it. I think he'll be more popular than the 13%. And if not, then I'm definitely on board. Do you have any takes on him?
Yeah, I kind of like him. I just think, when you compare his talent to the guys that are priced around him, and the fact that like Horschel's going to be double the ownership because he's a Florida guy. Mitchell's going to be double the ownership, and we've only got Fleetwood at 12 or 13. I see he grades out fairly well in your model too. I just think that, and I think he's, I don't have it up right now, but like 4th and 3rd here the last 2 times he's played. And he's only played in even years. So it's a Bubba thing. It's an even year thing that Fleetwood wants to play here. So it doesn't seem to really be any rhyme or reason as to when he actually does play here, but the results are pretty solid. So yeah, I think I'm in on Fleetwood. I mean, I don't like a lot of the 10K guys, so I got to like somebody. So that's my guy. Played Horschel a couple weeks ago. I mean, he's been playing better, but to me, Horschel is the guy that you can fade when he's chalky, and that's, for that salary, that's a little too chalky for me. So I think I'm out on Horschel. You got Lowry, Noren, Wolf, Mitchell, and Matt Jones rounding out that 9K range. Anybody else you like in there?
Yeah, see, I don't love this range. You mentioned it, Horschel being expensive and popular is kind of a tough pill to swallow. The same goes for Keith Mitchell. Mitchell's been on fire, no doubt about it. 4 top 12s in his last 5 starts. He's obviously got a win here. And in those last 5 starts, he's gained at least 3.5 strokes ball striking, in 4 of them. So everything's kind of lining up for Mitchell. But like you mentioned, I mean, 9,100 is a lot, 21% is a lot. I do think he's discounted on Yahoo at $30. So if you want to play him over there, I certainly don't mind that. And the rest of the guys in the range, I mean, Lowry's interesting. He's got 4 straight top 25s overseas. He's 3 for 3 here. Noren's a lot like Mackenzie Hughes in that he's like a short game specialist. That it can work here as long as you can avoid the water. It's okay if you miss the greens, and he's kind of one of those guys that can gain a bunch on and around the greens. So I don't mind looking at him in tournaments. And Wolf, I don't know what to do with Wolf. It just doesn't seem like he's played a ton in Florida over the years, and I don't know. He's so wild off the tee at times that scares me.
Yeah, in his last 2 tournaments, he's had rounds of 74 and 78. So when it goes bad for him, he can put up some big numbers, and that scares me a little too much. I think I'm out on Wolf as well. I'd take a shot with the guys that are a little more steady. I mean, not that I've got any special fascination with Lowry or Noren, but they tend to keep it out of trouble a little bit more. Lowry's had a couple top 25s over there on the Euro Tour. So yeah, I think Lowry would be my other choice in here outside of Fleetwood, but it's not a ringing endorsement by any means. Lots of guys that, these guys that played in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, like they just decided to come when the Florida swing hit and skip California. Seems like. So you're gonna see some guys like Lowry and Fleetwood and some others that haven't played a whole lot on the PGA Tour lately, maybe even since early fall or late summer. That they're popping up again here for the Florida swing. So, anything else in the 9Ks? I'm with you on Wolf.
Not really. Just one more point on Lowry. Very good win player. We saw him win the Open Championship, so I think that's another feather in his cap. Anon 1983 in the chat says, is Brooks too talented to fade? We can just lock him in, and then I'll send him nasty tweets, and that'll fire him up. So maybe that's the key.
We can all bombard him and get blocked. I don't know. I don't know if he's a blocker or not. The only PGA Tour golfer I am blocked by is Grayson Murray, so shout out to him. If you want to chat with us, Rotogrinders, free Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord will get you in. You can join the live stream chat channel in the Rotogrinders Discord, and you can chat with us during the show. You don't have to be a premium member to access that channel. There are some premium channels, but you can get in the live stream chat channel and talk along with us during the show. If you're interested, grinders.com/Discord. Also, promo code Grinders on Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com or download their app, and you can get 100% deposit match up to $100 with your first deposit on Prize Picks. So check them out as well while you're at it. All right, let's move down to the 8K range. Mito made me feel bad last week after not playing him and came up with the top 15. So back on track for Mito. That was a pretty impressive performance at a course he didn't have a lot of history, obviously. Doesn't on a lot of these courses on the PGA Tour, but maybe seeing Neiman win. You got a countryman there, and Mito Pereira, I think, don't mind hopping back aboard that terrain at 8,900. Some might be scared away with him being a little bit expensive there, but again, it's all relative. I mean, Patrick Reed was in the 7Ks last week. Didn't exactly light the world on fire. Missed another cut, 6 over par, and now he's 8,800. So again, all relative to the field. You got a mix of kind of veterans that have been slumping a little bit, and maybe guys that are on the rise, younger guys that are on the rise, like Young, who you mentioned earlier, and Mito, and and maybe a few others in here. So interesting mix of vets and young rising players in this 8K range. Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, Mito's stats, man, I don't understand them at all. So when he first came on tour, he was like the best ball striker on the PGA Tour. He had a stretch where he was gaining over 5 strokes every single week, and then ever since the start of the new swing season in November, it's just been all putting. He's gained at least 2 strokes putting in 5 of his last 6, and he's gained at least 1.4 in all those 6. So I don't know if he's a good ball striker. I don't know if he's a good putter. I don't know if regression's going to hit one way or the other, whether when it comes to the ball striking or the putting. So I don't know. For now, I'm just going to be off of Mito. Patrick Reed, he's lost off the tee in 10 straight, lost on approach in 8 of 9. I think we can cross him off. I'll have a sprinkle of my main man, Brian Harmon. His ball striking has been a little bit better recently. But my favorite play by far is Johnny Vegas. Like, he's gained off the tee pretty much every event that he plays in. His approach numbers have gotten really good over the last 6 months. He's 11th in this field, strokes gained approach. The proximity numbers from the ranges that I looked at for the week, he's top 15 no matter what time frame you're looking at. And he's got a really good course history. So he's by far my favorite play at 8,500.
Yeah, I think this range you're going to see ownership spread out a little bit. I mean, we got Wise, Hughes, we've got Young, we've got Harmon, we've got Mito, kind of all in that 10 to 15% range. So I think you can kind of mix and match these guys. Nobody stands out as a glaring, obvious misprice, and really, we're not going to see a ton of chalk. Probably under 9,000. It's all going to be spread out a little bit, just because you kind of can play the angles there. And nobody's going to stand out as an elite play in kind of a weaker field. So that also brings up a point where I think this is a week where maybe you can do something a little crazy in your lineups, because scoring isn't going to be as high in theory with the weather. So, you can play it a little bit more boom or bust, and the field has got a lot of inconsistent players in it. So I have not played him in like 6 months. I've asked you if he's any good anymore, and he's probably not. But I'm going to play some Gary Woodland this week, and that's probably dumb, but here we are. So give me Woodland. at 8,200 as your YOLO GPP flyer. Did make the cut at the Farmers a couple of weeks ago, missed the cut in Phoenix, but I don't know. He's always been a solid golfer in Florida, and I'm just not ready to call him completely washed. So am I nuts?
I mean, he's 8 of 8 here, 3 top 10s, but he's also missed 8 of his last 12 cuts. So classic.
Something's got to give.
Yeah, classic form versus course history. I was going to bring this up. Did you see the video of Patrick Reed pulling something out of his pocket to rub on his club?
I did not.
Oh, at the Genesis last week. At least it looks like that's what he's doing. He holds it right up next to his pocket, and he kind of wipes something on it. I don't know.
Huh.
At this point, it's hard to give him the benefit of the doubt, but It just looks strange. I don't know what you would put on your club. I don't really know what would help in that situation, but
it's interesting. I'm gonna have to try to find that now.
Anyway, other guys I like in this range, Mackenzie Hughes always seems to play well on Bermuda, one of the better putters in the world. I think you can build like a scramblers lineup with Noren, Hughes, Poulter, those kind of type of golfers that as long as they stay out of the water, I think they're going to be fine because they can scramble so well and you don't have to make, a ton of birdies to contend here. Aaron Wise is interesting. He's kind of let us down 3 weeks in a row, but 3 of 3 here, T13 here last year. And then, I don't know what to do with Woodland. I don't know what to do with Russell Knox either. I think so. Knox has like the best record in the Bear Trap. Palmer has the worst record in the Bear Trap, yet somehow Palmer plays way better than him at this tournament every year. So I don't know. That's kind of weird. But Zuiden going to be my favorite by far at 8K. Always play him on these shorter tracks. He's made 29 of his last 31 cuts worldwide. And he's just so much better when you get him on Bermuda, when you get him on these short tracks.
Yeah, totally agree. Like him as well. I'll probably go back to Wise a little bit too. I've played him the last few weeks. He's always a roller coaster and, miscut in a 67th. Not really much to write home about there. But like I say, I think this is a week to embrace a little bit of variance in this range. Cameron Young's not going to be fantastic every week. Maybe it's Patrick Reed for some of you out there, or it's Taylor Moore at 7,900 or whatnot. But for me, I like Wise. I like Woodland as the YOLO plays in this range. I think Zuiden is pretty safe. I don't really have a strong opinion on Knox either, but he'll probably Knox is. I can tell you right now that Knox is going to come down to be one of those last few guys, whether he's in or out of my player pool, and so I'll X him out, and then he'll. I don't think he's going to go wire to wire. I would be shocked if he did, but
he'll also be one of the last 3 guys by the cut line on Friday.
Ian Palmer, they'll be hanging out together. All right, anything else in the AKs that we missed?
Nothing else for me.
All right, let's move down into the next range. It'll start to move pretty fast here because the field gets weaker. But CT Pan showed up last week with a 9th place finish after a pretty brutal stretch. He's got some history here on these tracks as well. So at 7,700, I think he stands out a little bit. You mentioned Palmer. I don't mind playing him. I think that price is pretty respectable for him in this field. The scrambler like Fowler or like Poulter, not Fowler.
Fowler, yes.
Poulter at 76. He and Fowler are the same prices. But your thoughts on kind of the upper end of the 7K range?
Well, believe it or not, I didn't bump up Ricky Fowler at all, and he rates out like the same value as his price. So the model
that tells you all you need to know about the field.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I was thinking that maybe this course is special or something. I mean, he does have a win here, some other good finishes. I might keep him in the player pool this week. He made the cut, last week. Maybe I don't know why I do this to myself. It never works, but we'll see how it goes. I agree on Palmer. I'll have a little bit of him. The back-to-back miscuts will help keep that ownership down. Lee Westwood was one of the names, rumored to go to the Saudi League. So now that he doesn't have that big check coming, he might have to, put together some good finishes here on the PGA Tour. We saw what he did in Florida last year, a couple second-place finishes at, I think it was API and the Players. So I think he's interesting at 7,800. We have him pegged at 3% ownership. He's been playing pretty decent overseas, 3 straight top 35s. So I think he's interesting at low ownership. Denny McCarthy coming off of the miscut when he was chalk. I think it's a good time to bounce or to hop back on him. T3 here last year. He was in great form before that miscut. Have a little interest in KH Lee. He's been playing some really good golf, and I haven't played him once during that stretch. And then the other guy I wanted to talk to you about, Hodgegard. Is this Rasmus's brother? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not that familiar. I've seen him mentioned a few places this week, but you're not getting him at a discount.
Not getting him at a discount. He recently won overseas, but he missed 3 cuts in his last 4 events. So
I think he's missed 5 of 8. Missed 5 of 8 cuts.
Also has a 4th in there. So hey, if you want a YOLO play, it's not Ricky Fowler, I guess.
I can't fault anyone this week. You can throw whatever off the wall play you want. I pegged Woodland, so I just I can't throw shade at anybody for anything after doing that. But
that's
maybe
a good question.
Fowler
We should see if Wesley's wife's on the bag.
I
I don't know. Does that help him or her? Because he was pretty good with her on the
yeah,
bag.
he played well. I think it's a help based on the way he played when she was. I don't know if that was just like a on and off thing, whether when she was caddying for him or if it was a full-time thing for a while. I can't remember now.
Yeah, at least he doesn't have to give her 10% since she already gets half of it.
That's right. At least. All right.
Twin brothers for Rasmus and
interesting.
Nikolai.
Well, they both came in with some fanfare. I don't know. It's a little overblown for my taste. All those missed cuts on the Euro Tour. This is a step up, even though it's a weak field. I think I'm out. If he was like in the 6Ks, I'd be in, but I think 7,600, I'd pass.
Yeah, wait and see for me too.
All right, let's move to the lower end of the 7K range. I do think we have some interesting plays down here. I think Sig is interesting quietly since the start of the calendar year. He's made 4 cuts in a row. Nothing spectacular for finishes, but nothing worse than 42nd. Aaron Rye, we've seen pop a few times. So I think those are a couple guys that are interesting in the lower end of the 7Ks. Who you got in here?
I like Aaron Rye as well. No issue with him. I think Chris Kirk is interesting. It looks like he's going to be pretty popular, but guy that plays well on shorter tracks, coming off of a T14. The tee to green numbers have been really good, even when he's missed a cut recently. And historically, he's been, pretty good with the short game. So I like him at 7,500. Seb Straka is kind of one of my contrarian plays of the week. He hasn't been in the most consistent form, but he's got a couple top 20s recently. He's played well here the last 2 years. I don't mind Charles Howell, Chucky 3 Sticks. He's played here, I think, 12 straight years, made 10 of those cuts. He had been playing a little bit better until he missed a cut his last time out. So don't mind going back there. And then, some really old guys. But Brendan Stills played well here in the past. Zach Johnson's played well here in the past. Sam Ryder. I don't know what to do with any of these guys.
Yeah, Zach Johnson would theoretically be the fit, but his stats have been really bad. Took a couple looks through there and thought better of it. Yeah, this is interesting because you either got the veterans that have really stunk or the young guys that you don't necessarily want to trust on this type of course, like Pendrith and Smalley, and I think those guys are interesting long shots, but it's hard to say that you feel confident about any of them.
Yeah, this could be a bad take, but I'm avoiding all the KFT graduates. The step up in competition, and now you're getting the harder courses. It just seems like their results are all kind of tailing off now.
Yeah, I think, that does have some merits, I think. I don't really love anybody else above 7,000. I think 6,900, Patrick Rogers is really cheap. And the form, I guess, 3 missed cuts in a row, but
the chat's asking us to help them with this value range, and we're just like, I don't know.
It stinks. Yeah, it just does. That's why I said the field is terrible. I do like Patrick Rogers at 6,900. I know the field's bad, or I know the form is bad, like many others, but he does tend to play here every year, and he's got some solid results, and he's only 6.9K. I think he's 90-1 to win also. I'll probably sprinkle a little bit on that. So there's a reasonable ceiling there. You're not getting much of a ceiling with guys like Schenk and Hubbard and, Streelman and those guys these days. So Rogers checks the box that he's at least not the first timer. He's got plenty of history here. And maybe the switch to Florida will get him back in gear. So there you
go. Still feeling the burn from him last week.
Got
off to the good start. He had the great course history, so I played him round 2 showdown and in a lot of lineups, and he just tanked on Friday. So
when in doubt, you can always play Doug Gim. So he's there at 6,800. But I like Rogers this week. I haven't been burned, haven't played him in a while, so maybe that's just the that feeling kicking in. But you like anybody in the upper 6Ks to make the people feel better?
So the chat's talking up Doug Gim, your boy. Schwab,
can never
I think
go
is
wrong
interesting. Mark Hubbard, I think, is certainly a guy that you could look to. He played well. I think he played pretty well at Pebbles last time out. So I don't mind looking at him. I like Kramer Hickok at 6,800, a guy that always plays well on Bermuda. He's kind of turned into a Bermuda specialist. He's got 2 top 30s here. JT Poston's a guy that I don't mind putting in your MME lineups. He's got some good course history, some good putting splits on Bermuda. And then don't have a lot until we get to the very bottom.
Oh, you got some very bottom, like 6K bottom?
6,200.
6,200. Let me see if I can guess. 6,200?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's a lot of bad players down here. Oh man. It's not Duffner, is it?
Daddy Duff, let's go.
Is that it?
That's it. Good
All
call.
Right, first guess.
So, I mean, same exact story as Gary Woodland. He's missed 4 or 5 cuts, and he's made 13 straight cuts here. 6,200.
Maybe he knows the greens here. He doesn't know them anywhere else, but he knows them here.
Something.
I mean, he's 2,000 cheaper than Woodland, and he's probably not any worse than Woodland these days. So might as well get the cheaper guy.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, Tyler Duncan did withdraw this afternoon. Make sure you don't put him in your lineups. And now I'm forgetting who replaced him, but I'm not sure if we'll get that player in full week contest or not. Hang on, we gotta find it now. Duncan, Seifert replaced him, and DraftKings did add him right away. Did you see that there was a 15-for-1 playoff for the Monday qualifiers?
No, wow.
The final Monday qualifier spot was a 15-player tie for 1 spot.
No way.
And it's crazy. They had to finish this morning because there was a 15-way tie, and I think they decided to try to do it with a par 5. Now I gotta go.
Was it the Wyndham where they had the 6-way with Kisner and they had them all go on off at the same time? Was that the Wyndham?
That sounds right.
What if they had all 15 of those guys tee off the same hole? That'd be great.
So it was Seifert was in the playoff, and then it was in that 16-for-1 playoff and missed, and then got the call that he was replacing Tyler Duncan because he was the first alternate. Yeah, so Rick Lamb was the one guy. It was a 16-for-1 playoff. And Rick Lamb made an eagle on a par 5. He was the only one of the 16 to make eagle, so he got the last spot. That's pretty cool. 16-way tie. Imagine that. And you had to go for eagle with it being playing a par 5, and he was the guy that got it. So he's in the field. He's 6K. If you're rooting for this tour. Anything else kind of we skipped the mid 6K ranges to go down to the Duffner there, but I mean, this is littered with a lot of the Korn Ferry Tour grads that are the shirtless Harry Higgs. I mean, it's pretty ugly.
Yeah, the model likes Ryan Armour at 6,600, Andrew Novak, Hayden Buckley, Max McGreevy, and Matthew Neesmith if you need cheap guys. But I don't feel great about any of them.
Yeah, I always end up playing a little Neesmith, and he made the cut last week, but he hasn't shown much. You're not going to find an absolute gem of a diamond in the rough down here, because if you did, that player would be
Duffner, baby.
Like I said, you're not going to find an absolute gem of a diamond in the rough down here, because that person would be like 25% owned. But you can take some shots on guys that, maybe if you're into the course history, Duffner probably makes a little more sense than Woodland, to be frank, because of the salaries. But me, I'll just end up on Gim. So
I'm gonna play around with Sungjae Louis Duffner team. It's gonna be great.
You could do the all. A few of the guys you mentioned, I was debating bringing up. You could do the all Saudi League team and get Westwood and Poulter and all those guys on there. But
I was gonna ask, do you know where Ocala, Florida is in relation
yes.
to Palm Beach? Is it close?
No, well, I don't know the map, but I just know of Ocala.
Because the worry with Louis is always that he doesn't have his mattress with him and that his back's hurting. But he bought that big ranch in Ocala,
so he can.
So hopefully he can sleep in his own bed.
We're doing the real time here. Ocala, Florida. Google Maps is coming through for us on the fly. Of course, there's probably somebody listening that's from Florida, but that can just tell us. Unfortunately for you, though, it's a 3.5 hour drive, so that's probably a little steep to do every night. His back might tighten up on the
way. Well, there goes that theory.
He's got a U-Haul bringing the mattress to him. That's the hard hitting analysis that this field brings us this week. Let's see.
There are a million guys that live in Orlando or Palm Beach, or Jupiter. So
yeah, the Southeast home game narrative, you can usually end up listing off half the field. Maybe using a tiebreak scenario or something like that. But
Ricky,
you talked yourself into Ricky. I've talked myself into Woodland. We'll see who wins heads up between. They both missed the cut. They're both like +8. We'll see. I don't mind Armour or Hubbard if you're looking for somebody safe down there. Probably good to get you a made cut. But I think in this tournament with the scoring in theory probably being tough, especially in GPPs, you take your shots on some boom or bust guys. So, all right, with that, we've somehow gone over 50 minutes. I didn't expect that tonight. That is A+, taking up the clock. So we did it, and the field strength should start to slowly ramp up as we get into March. So next week will be the first week of March with the Arnold Palmer, which tends to have a pretty strong field. And then we've got, let's see, so a week before, the Arnold Palmer is next week, and then the Players the week after. So we'll have a couple of weeks with some very strong fields for sure. So also reminder, set your lineups early, especially if you're on the Mountain Time or West Coast time. You're getting up at 4 a.m, 5 a.m. if you want to check those lineups now with the switch to Florida. So just make sure you don't have that dummy lineup in there with used to being lock at 9, 10 o'clock, something like that. So that's it. We're gonna call it a show here for you tonight. For Noto, I'm Justin. Thanks to our producer Steve as well, and we wish you all the best of luck this week. Take care, and we'll see you next week.